We should dive into things that are.
I want to talk about the joke.
Was that okay that I put that in a clip? It was so good.
What?
It needs to be a GIF. You're like, no sales, no sales.
I'm
like, no sales, no sales, no sales.
I watched it. I was like, that's good. That's good. That's good.
I mean, it was a GIF in the making. I watched it when I was playing back the recording. I was like, oh my goodness, this is too much. This is too much.
But it's like, I saw that, and then like the day later, this is like the LinkedIn thing right now. We're like, hey, let's connect because I'm local to you and I'm a business owner. Like, yeah, let's do it. And then like he's like, hey, glad to connect, or glad we connected. I said, sure thing, so and so. And like 2 minutes later, like, hey, have you thought about fractional executive services? Get out of here. You told me that you were get out of here. I don't want. And so it's probably like just yesterday, it was like, boom, boom, like
no sales, no sales, no sales.
It's real.
New rule: if you don't comment and like my stuff, you may not send me a DM.
So who was it at Social Media Marketing World? It might have been Marcus Sheridan was talking about. I don't know. It was something Fox. She does a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. She always wears like little fox ears. Anyway, she was saying like she's got this whole like template like stored in her keyboard where she types like 2 letters and it auto-populates. Anyway, and it basically says, I would love to connect with you, but not in such a private way. I reserve this for, personal communications. Please continue this conversation. I'd like to have this conversation, but please continue it in a public place such as my LinkedIn page or my Facebook page or this, that, and the other. Like, let's keep it in the public rather than in a personal private message.
Interesting.
And her thought is like, listen, if they're willing to have their sales pitch out to everybody, like, and it leads to a dialogue of like, conversation like this guy, he could have come at it from such a different way. Like we use a fractional CFO. So like, I'm familiar with it. So he could have said, hey, crazy question. Have you thought about like fractional services? Like, can we have a conversation about that? Like we could have started talking about that. And I don't even know what he does. I shut down before we even got to his pitch. So he started the soft sell, right? But anyway, but I thought about the Fox lady when she probably don't like to be called that, but
she wears fox ears.
She does, so she probably doesn't mind.
I think she's open to it.
She doesn't mind. Yeah. Sure. But I need to do that. Have like a template letter, and it's only LinkedIn. Like that's the thing is like. I don't know what it is about LinkedIn inbox, but it's like the most salesy place ever. Well,
it's all how you use it. And so the question is do you just write off LinkedIn? And I don't think that that's the answer. I think there's a way to work it like we talked about last time. I know we're going to ramble and then your notes over there.
No. Look, there doesn't have to be a plan. Like that's my hope for these shows. So Joe, I do have a serious question.
Okay.
I think we need it's a statement and then a question. I think we need a name for these.
Okay.
Do you have an idea?
Not fireside chats.
Well, there's no fire.
Right.
Well, you might have to let him think about it.
Okay. That's
fair.
That was my serious question.
Yeah, because we do need kind of a good name for this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me think about it. I'll let it stew for a little bit.
So was that your question?
Yeah, that was
the serious question. So you interrupted my thoughts on LinkedIn, how to use it.
Yeah, you invited me to.
So we're using for Ozark Wireworks. I'm using LinkedIn quite a lot. But so like usually I will send a message. It'll be like, hey, my name's Joe Everest. I've got this this chain link company called Ozark Wireworks. We manufacture chain link. I'd love to connect so that if I can be a resource to you in the future. And then I usually say, P.S., no sales message, or something like that. And then I send it but because it is a place where business owners connect, I mean, and I think that maybe why there's so many sales messages is because people know you don't have a lot of just casual observers in LinkedIn. There's no cat pictures. There's no, funny meme videos. It's people discussing business related topics. So I think, so to your question, like, do you leave it? No, I don't think so. I think you just set parameters around, like, I'm not having sales conversations. Like, this is not the place. I'd love to interact with you and have like conversation and dialogue around it, because I think my community, talking about fractional services, I think that would be a great conversation to have in a public place so that the whole community can participate, to where here's been my experience with a fractional CMO or CTO, like whatever they want to use. Like, fractional is becoming a real thing. And so it would have been a good conversation, but he started off, I really felt like he started off with like in a deceptive manner. He's like, hey, we're both in the same area. I love to connect with other business owners in my area. Like, okay, that's a fair message. I like that. And then to start off with, hey, could I talk to you about? No, I know now that's a sales message. Great, you made it past the first layer, and then you pitched hard.
Well, and don't ask for time. I think that's the other thing. If you have not spent any time talking to somebody, and I think that's the kind of flip of it. Instead of sending a message, I don't even add a note on connect request anymore. I don't, because it still feels cheesy and salesy. So I just literally just send it. So there's a couple of things that I do. And it really depends on what it is your goal is trying to do. So like for you, you have two different companies' objectives right now.
Right.
I'm guessing, for business sense, you would be, if you're trying to find not residential, because I think this is a little bit different.
Right.
If you're looking for companies or maintenance, I'm assuming head of maintenance would be somebody that would want to put a chain link fence around by the fence and install it. Have you guys install it?
Yeah.
You can go and look out for that person, right? Or you can go to a company that what's a big enough company that has a facility that might need a space. You can go look up and you can send a connection request, but you can also go look at their activity. One, when you click on their profile, they're going to see that you have looked at them. And we're also,
I think some people don't realize that too.
Engaged. Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm going to tell you that's probably true, because people keep looking at me and I'm like, why are you looking at me? Like, I know they don't have any
I don't
business.
think people realize that other people are seeing you look at them. But when somebody looks at you, you're like, what are you doing? Who are you?
So
it sends you a notification.
We have some people that tend to look at our profiles over and over and over again. And it's like, still here.
So this is kind of an interesting thought, though. Like, if I wanted to reach somebody, like if I really wanted to reach them, one, I probably would visit their profile, so I would show up on their radar, but then probably comment on some of their posts, knowing that like my inbox it might as well all be a spam folder,
right? You don't look at it,
but interacting with me in the comment section, or like resharing post with a nice thought or whatever, way more powerful.
Well, and it's like, it's kind of like a duh. I mean, it's not that complicated, and no one is doing it. I mean, as somebody who posts on LinkedIn, the one thing I really wish is that more of my posts got more reach, because LinkedIn is becoming pretty stingy with its reach. And if you would just like and or comment on my post, especially maybe indicating that you read some of it.
Sure, you're right.
That would serve me. That would make me like you.
Or even go further, reshare something that you put and have their spin on it. I mean, totally. Right. You're gonna follow up and talk
to
them.
You reshare my post with something meaningful, you're at the top of my list. Now you've got my attention. What do you want to sell me?
Right.
And I'm being facetious, but there's a lot of truth in it.
Oh yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, everybody, and here's what I think what it is. We were all taught in sales that sales is a numbers game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You got to get through.
Let's not dispute that.
To get to a yes.
That's not a debate we have to have. But we were taught. And so this is a belief system that we carry. So we have it in our little box over here. Sales is a numbers game. So when I take that sales mentality to LinkedIn, I'm like, how many messages can I send? Instead of thinking like, maybe how do I connect with somebody so that they might actually want to have a conversation with me?
Yeah.
And it's like, they're not thinking about that, because they're like, well, if I send 1,000 messages, in Sales Navigator, that someone will be back. And if that doesn't work, I'll do 10,000, whatever, instead of thinking that like some things just don't work.
Right. Well, or they might. You might get a 1%, return on that, but it's like, wait a minute. So you're telling me though, so if it's a 1%, 1 out of 100 people may respond back and show interest. But what would that look like if you took the same energy? It would actually take more energy because you would have to go to the person's page, but leave a comment, like it. Since you viewed their profile, they're going to get it's going to take a little bit more time, a little bit more effort. But instead of 1%, maybe you're talking about 30%, right? And so and that 30% is a much higher value than that 1%.
Yes,
because that 1%, that's it. Yeah,
it does take more effort.
It's a cheap lead.
But some people, and I know you see this because I kind of I watch what happens in my my message box. Some people send you like 2-page messages over and over, and they have the next one and the next one and the next one, and it's like if
I didn't answer the first one.
If you just do a little bit of commenting, but the commenting requires some personal effort, and everybody there, and then other beliefs. So we put that belief in our box, and now we have like a modern belief, which is like automate everything.
Yeah, they paid somebody to set that up.
Automate relationships.
No, and not. Yeah, they automate it with a sales script where when you read it, your sales manager gave you this script to send out to as many people as you can.
Yeah.
That's not a great strategy.
But that this came from part of this. If people are used to Gary Vee and his strategy on Instagram. So every day, and I can't remember the
$1.80 strategy.
Thank you. I couldn't remember what this.
Leave your 2 cents on 90 posts.
So if you took that, and LinkedIn has hashtags too, and content makers do talk about this. You can filter. I did that earlier today. People that talk about hashtag leadership. I actually went and did my connections, a search on that. You can just go find people, and so if you're not looking for a specific person,
sure,
like Joe's looking for a construction company that always puts a fence up around all of their projects.
Yeah, hashtag temporary fence. That's what we're seeing a lot now, right?
Right. If he doesn't go look for a person specifically for that, we're gonna strategize on Joe's business while we're sitting here. I got a case study.
I'm here for
it. We go find the person. We're gonna go find them right now. We're gonna send a comment on their
Finish
stuff.
Your thought.
Then you could actually look for somebody in that genre. Let's just say you're not local, and let's looking at that, you could do the same thing and go engage with who's making content and get so much further than running an ads or whatever you paid. And you'd only do I'm going to spend 30 minutes every morning doing this.
Yeah.
I guarantee you're going to get a phone call for a coffee much quicker than you are sending out those.
Pre-written messages.
Well, that's the thing, because people. Well, this is kind of that same vein of putting up your sales wall, right? Is that, you bring it down with people that are actually engaging with you, right? Let's have a dialogue about it. I don't know what services that guy was trying to sell me. It never got that far. It was spam, see you later.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe I needed to, whatever he was selling. But if he had engaged with me in a comment section or somewhere like that, he could have gotten a lot further, but it would have taken more effort on his part.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. But the people that do respond to that, I don't know how high of quality of leads those are either.
Exactly.
But, I don't know. I've never played the spam inbox game, so I'm a very poor resource to tell you how well they perform. But my guess is everyone I've talked to hates it.
Right.
So.
Right. So you brought up Gary Vee. So he had the book or has a book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it's pushed so much value out there that people feel compelled to give you value back. Yeah. Right. And so in a business is lead with value, and then they will come to you for your business.
Yeah.
I think everyone can take a page out of that book, right? Hey, let me give you so much value. And that's what we're talking about, liking and commenting and resharing. Let me give you overwhelming value. And then wait for you to say, what is it you do? What do you do? Can I engage with you back or a soft, in the comments, maybe it is a soft introduction. I don't even know the context of this, but so I engage with somebody and say, hey, also, If you would like more information on domestically produced chain link fabric, here's our LinkedIn page. I'd love to interact with you there, or something like that. A soft something, but that's after we've chatted for a little while. I've reshared their things, and it's leading with as much value as possible.
No. That underlying message is so underutilized in all marketing. And I don't think it's a secret anymore. I think there's some pretty prolific people that talk about it, and it is still underutilized. And I think that's due to a level of laziness and impatience and all the other things that circle around what motivate people to actually take action. And then in bigger companies, maybe, it's the pressures they get for performance are all driven on expectations that don't really align with people's behavior.
That's a whole conversation in itself, is what are we incentivizing?
The value.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so he's writing it down. I'm going to ask one that I know that I like, Joe, and you're just going to have questions. So this could be its own episode, but let's see where we go with this. You are, I don't even know the numbers, but I'm going to, in the realm of small business owner still, right? I don't think you're past 20 million yet.
Nope.
Okay. And you made a decision. We talked about before, you were doing some things. You wanted to kind of get out there and be in the forefront of creating demand. But how did you make the decision to go to a full-time videographer on staff? And I know that it's not, there's no direct number, right?
It's not.
Like I can point to this number, and that number says that our demand's going to go up, or our sales went up, our revenue went up. How did you make that decision? How do you continue to justify it? And what does that look like?
So I'll tell you what I did, and I'll tell you why it's not right. So we waited until, I'm talking about our YouTube channel, like hiring on a videographer and editor. I waited until we had enough ad revenue to justify that position, to where we weren't putting a strain on any of the other businesses. Like, this is going to stand alone, so it needs to, their job is solely for YouTube. It's not now we get some unintended benefit for Ozark Fence and Ozark Wireworks, but so we waited until we made enough on that channel to pay for that position. Now, since then, we've seen incredible growth. Like, so we found the right person for the job, and he's done very, very well at it. But I waited too long, so I waited for the funds to justify it. Whereas if I could have hired him twice as fast, and then the earnings would have caught up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, we could have hired him a year earlier, and then the content value would have produced enough value to justify that position. So I waited. So the answer is, I waited too long. I waited till I was sure that we could afford it, that the channel itself could afford it. Mm-hmm. Now, could any of the other brands have pitched in? Yes. Like, we could have swung it much earlier, but that was important for me, for it to be its own pillar, for it to stand on its own feet. And I think I knew at the time that we would get some benefit from the other brands, from the channel and all that, but I didn't calculate that into the equation. Where now that I see, we get calls, and we don't reference the fence company, the name of the fence company, hardly at all in the video. Now, the guys wear the shirts and the hoodies, so like, people get it. But we'll get calls about, we got a call earlier, so we have a video on the YouTube channel talking about our gate hardware we use with the gate frame and all that. Just telling people, hey, listen, we happen to sell it, but you can buy this stuff anywhere. This is how we do it. We had a customer call up that wanted us to come build them a fence because they wanted those gates. Interesting. So we didn't even intend for it to be on the Ozark Fence side. It was going to be on the Joe Evers YouTube side. Mm-hmm. But someone in our area saw the video, connected the dots, and went, oh, I can just pay them. They'll come build me that gate, the fence with that gate in it. Mm-hmm. And those happened more than I really thought they would. So, and that's our answer, right? But I waited too long. I think the moment you the moment, I mean, you don't want to put yourself in debt or anything like that, but the moment you can afford it without just taking on massive risk is the moment you should do it. Like it should probably scare you a little bit. Like I waited till there was no fear, there was no chance of, there's no risk.
Yeah.
Like, well, if we had done this a year earlier, we could be so much further ahead by now. But it would have been a little scary because I would have had to take funding from Ozark Fence and just everywhere else. So
that is
it
so
should scare you a little bit.
And you've shared some about this story with me about how you even got into YouTube, and I didn't realize that. I did not expect.
So let's go to back up for a little bit. So you have for a frame of reference, you have a YouTube channel because you are not producing, and I think this is good to know. You are producing content not for your clients.
Right.
You are producing YouTube content mainly for an audience of contractors who you don't intend to sell fences to and install fences to.
No.
So it's a form of, you're the expert, but you're being expert for your really worldwide competition or US competition, but not for your clients. And what you're saying is there's crossover. You have found that there's crossover in the marketing.
Yep.
But I think that's an interesting approach. You actually didn't do it as a strategy to get more fencing clients.
No, it started out as like a hobby project, really. So I met a guy at Social Media Marketing World. God, this is years ago. He was a plumber. His name's Roger Wakefield. And he had come up to me and he said, "Hey, you're a fence guy." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm a plumber." I said, "Oh, okay. Hello." He goes, No. He goes, "I think we're the only two tradespeople here." He goes, "Look, everyone else here is agencies and independent marketers, but we're the only two trades guys here. We should probably know each other." So okay, let's. And then one thing led to another. He had a YouTube channel that was already doing well.
Yeah.
He said, "You need to start a YouTube channel about fence." Like, he goes, "I talk about plumbing, so yes, you could do one about fence."
Wait, have you seen his TikTok channel? You need to go check out his TikTok channel.
His TikTok?
Yeah.
I need to. But
Brad's pulled it up.
No, I'm not. I'm actually looking up Social Media Marketing World.
Yes, you're having to that. You committed to that.
Yeah, I want to go, and
I'm coming up.
I'm gonna bug you and hang out with you.
Absolutely, it's a great time. It really is.
Hey, the plumber is going to be there, but let him finish his story.
Yeah. So, but I didn't create a channel that year, and so the next year he comes straight up to me. He goes, "I've been looking for you, and you haven't shown up yet." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I've been looking for this YouTube channel, and I haven't seen it." He goes, "We need to get you a YouTube channel." Like, I don't know that I'm running a fence business. Like, what is a YouTube channel like? He goes, "Believe me," he says, "you want to do a YouTube channel." He goes, it's really helped my business. I'm like, well, but I don't. Okay, like I don't know. His stepson helped do his video editing. He goes, "Hey, he's got extra time. Like he does all my stuff, and then he has some time. You can come on as a client, and we'll help build a channel, and we'll help do this." And he quoted a very reasonable rate. I was like, okay, well then. Because part of this is like, where do you start?
Right.
Like, I don't even know where to begin on creating a YouTube channel. Like, I guess you can go to youtube.com and start it, but it's like, there's a lot to it. So they took some of that fear out of it. Now, fast forward, Roger, so he ended up selling, I think this is public. So he ended up selling his service business, and now he's full-time in the YouTube, not even YouTube, just the social realm, where he does just all of this content. But he got me started in it, and I will be forever grateful to him for it.
Now, side note, I think that he is emceeing or hosting a jobber summit coming up next month. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it wasn't him I saw. I saw,
there's a few. Michelle Myers is going to be speaking at it.
Yeah. Okay. I saw. Yeah, she posted about it. Michelle, I know
Fred
from Pink Dollars.
Yeah. Yep. And she's going to be there. And then there's I don't know them personally yet, but there's a couple that do from window washing. There's Fred, I think Hudges. butcher that because I don't know them yet. But anyways, that was pretty cool. So he's gone from now he's producing content for other companies in that sense. For contractors. It's pretty cool. So
yeah, and his content, I mean, it's plumbing content.
It is definitely plumbing.
It is like the polls he puts on YouTube. I'm like, I'm a contractor. And I don't,
but here's the thing. I think Gary Vee said this, like tying all this in. He's like, listen, because some of the complaints that people have with Gary is like, listen, all you do is talk about raw stuff. It's all like feel good and in the clouds and all that. He goes, listen. He goes, I don't want you to listen to me. I want you to watch what I'm doing and emulate me. Like, be your version of me where I'm putting clips out on all the channels and I'm getting all of this attention. And you're right. Like, there's not a ton of substance to it. So just think if you did the same thing and added substance to it, how impactful that would be. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the message. I think that's the takeaway is that I think a lot of contractors probably have the same thought I did of that. Like, what would I do? Like, how would I contribute? I run a fence company in Southwest Missouri. Like, what do I have to teach anybody? But what I found is, so I've talked with guys that are getting ready to start, guys that have already started, like in their first year of business. Some guys, there were some guys here, probably about an hour ago, from Arkansas, that they're new in business in the last several years, right? So, and then I talked to other guys that have been in this business, they're third generation like I am, right? They're from different parts of the country and run massive operations like that, make us look tiny. So, but what's interesting is everyone. Maybe not everyone, but the people that get it always thirst for knowledge, right? So even these big guys, these giants of the industry want to sit and like, all right, so what are your thoughts on this, that, and the other? And I'm like, listen, mister, like, just so we're clear, like, here's where I operate. Like, doesn't even matter. I want to know your thoughts on, like, where do you operate gross profit wise and why? Like, maybe, I think the business owners that get it are always improving. So that's kind of a tie in with what we were saying earlier, like always breaking stuff and improving stuff. So I think the guy that says, or gal that says, listen, I've only been doing this for a couple of years. Like, I don't have anything to say yet. They absolutely do. Because part of this is I love talking to people that are just getting into the trades because it's a totally new perspective, right? And they likely have a perspective from a different industry altogether. What case in point? So my sister, Sarah, my youngest sister, runs a residential division. Now, she came from corporate America. She, she worked for a large outdoor retailer, like they're big in the outdoor space. Massive corporate company. So she brought with her all this perspective and all this training on setting up procedures, setting up teams, getting teams to interact with each other. Now, her specific role was importing stuff from some of their factories overseas. And so she also brings that, value to us on. As we grew, I knew that now I've got somebody on our team that can help us with perspective on, we import fittings now. So, but she had that perspective, right? So she could very well, she won't do it. I've tried getting her to start her own channel, but she won't do it. So, because her point being, well, what would I have to say?
Right.
Are you kidding me? Like, I think you could talk about operations. I think you could talk about building teams and all this stuff. And you could talk about that as it relates to, she's essentially our day-to-day operations manager as well. So, like, you could talk about how that relates to operations management. She goes, no, I don't think so. Man. The point being, everyone has a story, right? And everyone has a perspective, and it's all good. So
yeah, I think people totally have a huge limiting belief around the value and value of their perspective that they could share in a way that would benefit them and the receiver of that.
Absolutely.
So I do have a question, kind of a little bit on this idea of having a full-time videographer. So I recently watched a marketer that I really like on TikTok, and his prediction was, and I thought you'd like to hear this, that in the world of B2B, that the next two positions that will be most important for marketing teams are having full-time content creators, full-time creative, like videographers on their staff, and someone that manages those people. And it's really cool that this is like, it's becoming a thing. It will be a thing. Even though you said you waited too long, you're way ahead of the curve. You're not just making some stuff with your phone. You have a full-time videographer. And so my question to you, other than to like take my hat off to you, because I think you are ahead of the curve to take that on. But my question is, if you were advising another business and I was looking at my marketing spend, and I have this many dollars to spend, and like, some of it has got to be on some hard assets we use, our sales enablement stuff, right? Some of it we use to capture demand. We make sure that we're getting traffic to the website and we're doing the things that we do, right? But then you have this other side, like this demand creation, this content side, this value driven side that's not sales focused. And I'm thinking, like, somebody's saying, well, when would be the right time to hire somebody? And on that side, on that organic side, it's all manpower. Your cost is all in the people. You're not paying, you're paying him. That's the cost. What percentage of your marketing spend would you say to a contractor, is it 20% of it, 30% of it, half of it towards this future investment of creating content?
Let me do some math real quick and I'll tell you what our answer is.
Okay.
And while he's doing that, I would like to challenge, because what I heard in there, I want to challenge him for 2023. He's probably already made his marketing strategy for the year, but his plans, I'd like to see a percent of content be created for Ozark Fence, or that Ozark Fence is actually installing, but that's not the actual fence production. The wireworks. I'd like to see some content just driven towards that and chats on that this year. So I don't know what that percent is, but I'm gonna.
So it fits in with the channel, and we've talked about that. So because there's so much content here waiting to be made, because this might surprise you, but in the manufacturing space, no one's making content, right?
Really?
So shocking, right? So these guys that came up from Arkansas, we were here at Wireworks just talking about differences in wire and all that, and they said, they asked about black coated. I said, well, do you want extruded or extruded bonded? No, the black coated wire. Yeah, no, I know, but there's differences here. There's extruded and extruded bonded. And so then I just did a demonstration. I just cut some of it open. I said, here, extruded peels off, extruded bonded doesn't. It will, but not as easily. They're like, you should definitely tell people about this. That is the plan. That is the plan. Or just about, there's so much nerdy stuff with fencing. Like, so chain link fence, no one talks about the tensile strength. Everyone talks about the gauge. Like, so 11.5 gauge is lighter than 11 gauge, but no one talks about the tensile strength of the wire. And now that we're running it through a machine, the tensile strength is incredibly important because it factors into how well it bends and stuff like that. So yes, we've had that conversation, Braden and I. Like, we need to do content like this because no one's talking about it, which means that there is a gap in the coverage as far as just content creation. And this isn't an unintended maybe partially intended consequence is we might find some more business. We might find someone that wants to buy from someone who is being transparent with everything and open with, this is the difference between extruded and extruded bonded. Fun fact, extruded bonded costs about a penny more per square foot. Not that much. And, so it's a thing. So, yes, that's coming.
Okay, good stuff. Now you can go back to that I've sidetracked again.
We are roughly at about 15% of our ad spend is what we pay Braden, our videographer.
Yeah.
So, but we're currently talking about bringing on another Braden because Braden's plate is fairly full with Week in the Life, with filming review videos and stuff like that we do for the YouTube channel. But I was like, we see that it works for the Fence channel as well. So if we did that in a dedicated and just distinct way, I bet we could get some fully intended consequence out of this, and we could pay for a second person to work under you. So maybe they only do video. So Braden does videography and editing. He also does some social posting. So he wears several hats. Now, what we're having trouble getting him to tell us is which one of those roles he would like to bring somebody in for. He's like, no, I love the video part. Okay, so you could use some help on editing. Then we'll bring in an editor. Nope, I like that a lot. Okay, well, how about social posting? He's like, no, that's where I get my creativity. Like, that's my creative outlet is like figuring out. Okay, but we need to pick one. Like, if I could clone you, I would. Or if we could double the hours in a day, I would. But we need to scale this. So we're going to need to pick somebody. But
that is so funny.
Yeah, and I would love to see how I would actually like to document your process of this and how looking for people, because just like you said, this is the next phase of those business owners, CEOs, founders that are forward thinking. How are we going to create demand? It is the shift of how do you set this up? And that's really the question, because the power really kind of sits, or the knowledge, I'll say the knowledge sits in some of the people that have either done it or the agencies that have operated in that sense. And putting the pieces together, we've traditionally seen, and we've just had various conversations today, people who made a video. There's like a videographer, and they made a video, and their client said, I want a video that tells our story. That's it. So they go and they do that. But this like video content capture to tell a story and continue to tell stories that actually go towards a goal, go towards a strategy. So now we're actually calling these, they're not videographers, now they're content creators, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And with a not a marketer, because they're not just selling or salespeople. Now we're content marketers, right? Now we're demand gen. Now we're thinking through this. That really is not in this world of the manufacturer and B2B services yet. We're watching and studying it on other levels, other marketing levels. But to bridge that, they're just not. And I'm starting to see some heads of companies, CEOs start to try to make some content. Their strategy is not 100% where I'd like to see it just yet. It's still like me, or it's like I'm trying to like sell a training course or something.
So that's where you go wrong, is you use the word sell.
Yeah.
You're trying to sell something? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people fast forward through commercials.
Right. Exactly. So I want to see them get better, but they're doing something. And because they're doing something and they're putting out content, it is leaping them forward. So the next phase is going to be, and I'd love to document some of this, your phase is trying to hire and try to look through this.
Sure.
Because B2B service companies are not aware. They don't even know. So like you just said, the different options that they had, they don't know the steps that they're going to have to go through, the questions that they're going to have to ask themselves. And that's forward thinking.
It is. So again, Gary V, we should get paid every time we say that. But his position is that everyone should be a marketing company first, comma, that happens to do the thing. Right?
Yeah.
We're a marketing company that happens to build fence, or we're a marketing company that happens to manufacture wire. The problem with the content, the majority of the content, is people still have their sales caps on. Like, all right, I need to talk to you about the benefits of this, and then how you can use it, why you should use it, and why you should buy it from me. Well, you lost me at why I should buy it from you, right? So, because that is the unsaid message. I'm going to pour all this value out there. And if you happen to want this thing, I know a lot about it, so I probably sell it, right? So the message would be, when we're talking about extruded versus extruded bonded, there isn't and call today at or send us an email, sales at. No, it's guys, for more information, follow the channel, comment down below, shoot me a message if you're not comfortable asking it in the public. I'd love to help you however I can. Yeah. That's the message, right? And it's just creating helpful content. It's not selling the thing. That car makers are figuring this out, right? That watch the automobile industry. There's a lot less spec-oriented sales type content out there, and there's more families in an SUV taking a trip to the beach. You know what I mean? Or there's well, I don't want to say it, but it doesn't even show a vehicle for 3/4 of the commercial. It's a family on an adventure and this and that and the other. And then they've had a great time and it shows family bonding. And then they put all their stuff in the car and they leave. And then it's a car company doing the commercial. I'm like, oh, okay. Like somebody's starting to kind of figure this out, that we need to tell stories. And they could have sat out there and said, now listen, buying our SUV will lead to more family time and you'll be closer with your kids. And people would have been like, Skip, don't think so. But they showed a family and are having a good time. So people would probably be more willing to watch that. And then they just showed the vehicle pulling out. Interesting. And, that's a better message. Now, it's not all the way there yet, but it's better than just to come buy a vehicle from me today.
I'm a huge car enthusiast, but it's very interesting to watch how the automotive industry has shifted their paradigm towards content creators. Less than 10 years ago, I would even go so far to say it's 5 or 6 years ago, they were considered second tier. The way the auto industry interfaced with people who were third party was all in serious journalism. Because journalism has a very specific perspective. They would do the articles, and it would be this very much like what every company wants. They tell us what's good about it. They give all the specs. They focus on these images that help people understand exactly what they're getting. But there's this phenomena, and I think they're really catching on to this, that if the YouTuber who does cars says exciting things about your car and they think it's cool, a whole lot of people are going to be like, I would like that. They think I trust Matt at CarWow. I trust, whoever that is. Yeah. And if he says it's good, I want it. Because he's driven everything. And if he says it's awesome, then I absolutely need that. And but no one's ever saying buy this car. No one's ever saying go to whatever, name carcompany.com and go to their builder to buy this car. But you know how much traffic it gives a car company when the YouTuber's like, hey, the builder for the new Corvette came out. Let's spec one together online. Well, guess what happens to the Corvette website after that?
Oh, it blows up.
Everybody, they crash it because everybody wants to go spec their Corvette. And a certain portion of those people can't afford one and will buy one. Yeah. And it's this very interesting thing, but it's never is anyone saying click to buy, because people can figure that part out.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is, you bring them all the information. It's people want to purchase, they don't want to be sold, right? They want to make educated buying decisions. And so that's where the reviews come in. Like influencer marketing in general is massive. And it's been going on for a while, but now people are starting to get really in tune with it. I was having this conversation. We just brought on I don't think we've announced it yet. So we just brought on a sponsor. And I was talking with them. I said, here's the thing. I would love to be your brand voice. It's a company that I personally believe in, so it makes this a lot easier. I said, I'd love to be your brand voice. And here's why I think you need that. I coach, my son's 5, and I coach his T-ball team. And it's a lot like herding cats, right? Like it's 5-year-olds playing T-ball. There's not a lot of like strategy involved in it. Yeah. But if I want him to work on something, I go grab one of the other dad coaches. And I said, hey, would you work with Jackson on hitting this or throwing this? Because if I say it, it's gone. It's right past. He's not paying attention. But if you say it, and so then like we all kind of got this thing together. We're like, listen, what do you want your kid to work on? Okay, throwing and catching, great. Grab Jackson. If you would help him with his hitting today, like all right. And then we just trade kids and we work on things. It's the same thing where if a brand says something, it doesn't carry the same weight because when I hear it, I put it through the sales filter. Right? I'm like, okay, well, they want me to know that it does this, and it costs this much a month or whatever. Whereas if an influencer says, hey, I used it, I believe in it, here's some things I think are important to me, and they should be important to you as well. Here's some key features that I love. You might like this. Now, the important part of this, one, it has to be true. Two, you should also give some like, I don't want to say negative aspects, but say, hey, but if you're looking for it to do this, it's probably not going to do that, right? Or if you're hoping it will do that, it kind of will, but it's not great at it. Like, I wouldn't buy it just for this thing. Giving kind of both sides of the story, sort of thing, and give the good, the bad, and the ugly, and say, this is the thing. I love it. If you're like me, you might like it too, but you might not. If it's, anyway. So I think those are huge for brands. I think brands are starting to figure this out. But the reason I tell that story is because we have brands reach out that want to sponsor videos, but they are very. They're like, hey, listen, we'd love to hand you our sales script and have you read it. Not interested. No, thank you. Because I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know you. No, that doesn't feel right.
And your audience is important. You're protecting your audience too.
Yeah.
Well, Joe,
well,
go ahead.
No, it's a sales message, and I don't want to read sales messages.
This is 100% in lockstep with the same thing we just talked about LinkedIn. And companies, influencer marketing is fantastic. But once again, short-sighted, viewpoints, it's misused about 90% of the time. Because there's this big forgetful that, like, for the influencer to truly be effective, they have to mean it. They have to believe it. They have to be a user. When I don't know if you follow Peter McKinnon or not. We got to stop dropping all these people that are so dang famous online and like giving them more space. He might need my 3 viewers.
They don't need our help.
Yeah, but
he's a good one though. He's a good one.
When he says, "I like this kind of coffee," I care because the dude's obsessed with coffee. When he says, "I like Cannon," I'm like, he must mean it.
Yeah. But when he tells you he loves coffee, he doesn't tell you he loves the coffee. He shows you.
Amen.
Right? He's like,
how awesome it is.
Here's this wildly extravagant coffee press.
Yes.
Show you. And if you could smell it, here's what you would smell. And by the end of it, you're like, sign me up.
Well, I know. And when he does his gadget list at Christmas.
Yes, we've bought a few
authentic.
things.
I buy stuff off that list. I
Guilty.
carry that wallet.
Guilty.
But they're good stuff.
But the difference is and I mean, he reads sales script. Everybody does it on YouTube. But when we stop the video and I'm watching the video, it's about cars or it's about photography or video making. And they're like, moment for the ad. My favorite video games to play. Or, and they're showing like a screenshot. And I'm just like, this doesn't, I mean, I get the YouTubers getting paid and they have to make a living. I understand why they are doing it. No harm, no foul. But for the company advertising, it's because we're missing this point that there has to be authenticity. That's the influencer is transferring credibility. It's supposed to be like a referral. Like, hey, I know Joe. Joe is not only is he good at his job, but he's an honest human being. If you're doing a fence, you should hire Joe. I mean that. Yeah. But if you just go pay every Tom, Dick, and Harry who's online to say that for you, how great Ozark Fence is, it kind of loses its value.
It does. It really does. I mean, I think that's how, those content creators out there that are looking at taking sponsored dollars, I mean, I think you have to look at it through that lens of, listen, if I were in a room, if it was you and I, and we are alone in this room, and no one would ever know, would I tell you I like the thing? Would I tell you the same thing? Like, would I give you the same 3 things I like and a couple things I don't like?
Yeah.
And the answer is no. We're like, well, no. Then no. This has to be absolutely upfront, honest opinion on what it is. Because all right, again, Gary V. So he was saying, so back when he was doing Wine Library, he said, the first video, he's getting ready to take a sip, and he's like, wait a minute. Someone's going to ask me about this wine 5 years from now. I'm going to forget I reviewed it, and it's going to be them and I, and they're going to ask me, and I'm going to say it tastes like dirt. And I go, wait a minute. 5 years ago, you did a video where you said it was great, and it's from a great family, and this and that and the other. Like, so now I can't trust anything else you said because I don't know the motives behind it. So that's when he would taste it and be like, I never ate dirt, but it kind of tastes like what I think dirt would taste like if I were to bottle up dirt. he said you have to be blatantly honest because there is no upside to not being perfectly honest, right?
Yeah.
Because it will catch you. It will come back around. And you have to be able to stand behind everything you say. Because also, this is saved for eternity, right? Like this is like this conversation is being recorded. It's living on your computers, living up in the clouds, living who knows where it's living, right?
Cannot be erased.
So, listen, who knows where it is though? There's internet between me and you, so
the aliens another planet.
Forever.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to stand behind what you say 30 years from now. You know what I mean? Like if I talk a lot about Expert Professional Wood Care Products. They sponsor our show, our live stream. But if someone walked up to me, they're like, hey, like for real, like this or this other product. Say, no, I've got this stuff on my fence at home. Like I paid full price for this thing and put it on my fence at home. Mm-hmm. It's really good stuff. You should try it. Yeah, that is the answer. And I could say that just with full, I'm perfectly fine saying it because I know that's my truth. I know that I know it to be true. And you gotta, when you're speaking with an influencer voice, that has to be your truth as well.
I think that the internet community at large can smell BS pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I think they'll root you out in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And if you're selling snake oil and you don't believe it, I think that they will tear you apart. And
you know it when you see it. In the facial inflections and in just how they describe it. It's like, so I'm not a sailor, but I watch sailing shows. I think I live vicariously through these.
I'm like,
we need to go. All right.
So small commercial. We're gonna stop this in small commercial. There's some really cool people. There is a place. You know how like you can Airbnb a house, you can Airbnb a boat in Key West. So our friends down at Blue Sail Yachting, we're gonna give them a shout out, and they started making content on with their crew. But you can leave.
We can get a taste of the lifestyle.
Yeah,
you can go. You can have a captain. You don't have to be a captain.
But when we started,
and you can have that taste of like that catamaran or monohull lifestyle of like being on a sailboat for a little while. So anyway,
that's our plug.
You're watching sailing content
because this is the content I love. There's a few channels I follow where it's these families that sold everything on a boat, and now they're like all over the world. Like one's in Egypt right now, or they were in Egypt. I'm never gonna own. That's not gonna be me. That will not be my truth. I don't think. Who knows? Never say never, I guess. But I like watching the shows. Okay.
Yeah.
There's one of the channels, the ad reads that they do. I'm like, I don't think this is real. Like, I don't think you use this particular product as much as you say you do. Now, on the other hand, there's other channels that they say, hey, full transparency, this episode is sponsored by,
Squarespace,
this action camera company or whatever.
Yeah.
Here's me using it. Here's here's some drone shots of the boat. Here's some action camera shots of us jumping in the water. And here's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Now, they didn't talk about specs. They didn't talk about cost. But now I'm like, So, you could do all this stuff with it. I could probably, and I'm telling you right now, we bought a set of wireless lavalier mics because I saw them on one of these channels. So I was like, it's a brand I already know. I didn't know they did audio stuff. So then they're like, we have this, you do wireless log.
We actually might need to know about these. We have wired ones, so you need to send that to us.
I will. It's as soon as I say the company, you will know it. But
we're not giving them any space here.
Okay, so wait. So I have two things. So So we went down a different path. So we started talking about B2B companies doing their own content, and then we kind of jumped over to what I consider the modern advertising, which is really community hacking. Right? Like we started to talk about someone else. You wanted their community, their following. And there's tons of strategies that we could go into that. So that's like its own topic that we'll have to talk about someday on this long list that keeps going. I really enjoy following companies, people, CEOs, founders, whatever, that are making really good content about what they're doing. And I know you must too. So I want some of your, like, who do you follow? Not because you're actually doing work with them,
but
yeah, like the plumber, like, you know, like that is, who are you following right now that you're just loving what they're doing?
Well, I mean, so these sailing channels are really the only ones I watch right now. Well, Peter McKinnon, we've talked about him. I watch his stuff when I specifically want to know, like when I'm looking at new gear, I'll literally search Peter McKinnon, whatever the gear is, and see, does he have an opinion on this? And his content's really good, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of producing
super good.
In terms of producing good content, Casey Neistat. So he's a guy. He lives in New York, but he lived in New York. He did a blog every day for like a year and a half.
Yeah,
like it was daily vlogs. Then he moved to LA. So I saw him speak at Vid Summit out in LA, and then I found his content and I started watching on. He does very good content. I mean, that's what his job is he produces commercials for like Nike.
Okay.
But this is probably a good example. So he was like, they had some fitness watch that they were wanting people to buy. So they paid him an obscene amount of money to make them a commercial. And all he did was fly around the world, showing people running with the watch. Like that's all they were doing. There's inner screen, runner, wearing a watch, runner out. And then it showed all over the world. And it showed different people from different walks of life all wearing the same watch. And at the end of it, it was like, Nike, where's your journey going to take you?
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. We didn't talk about that it's waterproof, that it does this and does that. No. And now Casey's also big in the running space, right? Like he just did the New York Marathon, or he just had a video about the New York Marathon. He's big in the running community. So talking about community hacking, they said, well, Casey does great content. He's a runner. A lot of runners follow him.
Yep.
We have a new jogging athletic watch. So, let's have him tell people about this. Anyway, that was not a quick aside. None of my asides are quick.
You and I we could sit for here hours. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few, and I want you to follow them. I want your opinion on them, okay? Because
totally. You say Blue Sail Yachting?
Yeah, so they've done some stuff not as regular as this. So the ones that I'm following right now that are in the service industry that I'm loving, and we're gonna end up someday talking to them. Check out American Pavement Specialist. They are crushing it, making content about their services.
Okay.
They're up to like 17,000.
Are we going to circle back around on this and give opinions later?
Yeah.
We could.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about what they're doing right. A new one that's just starting to do it. I don't think they are big yet, so no, I don't want to say them because they're just starting out and they're not there yet. Who else am I following? I mean, we follow. I watch Caleb talk about Dane. Way more than I should watch about that. Who else is making content that you're following? I mean, we watch people that that are content creators, but not necessarily for their business. And these guys are making it for their business. Built With is one that I do. Is he on LinkedIn?
If you want to follow somebody that, well, it just depends on what we're talking about. If we want to talk about somebody that's doing marketing, what's his name that just left Refine that I was talking about earlier?
Ted. Is it Ted or Todd?
Todd Clausen.
Todd Clausen.
I don't know how to spell it, but he's primarily on LinkedIn, but he does TikTok as well.
Okay.
And it's marketing content for marketers. So you have to have a sense of humor about that, but it is on the money. The skits are hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going through my YouTube my YouTube page to see because it's based on stuff I watch. So one is CRM Jewelers.
Okay.
So CRM Jewelers, them and Roman Sharp, SHARF. They do high-end luxury watches.
Oh yeah.
But Roman started it, and then I saw CRM start. I don't know who started. I saw Roman first, but like the week in the life. And so when we hired Braden, we said, here's a channel that we want to emulate, showing Roman and his team week to week kind of what they're doing. Now, what Roman did was hired someone from a reality TV network that put on these shows to be his content director.
Okay.
And then they hired a content. So he did it in a much larger way. But now they've got season premieres, and they've got season finales, and they've got episodes, they've got contests. Really good. We are not there, but we're headed that direction. But that's who we're modeling our channel off of, is CRM Jewelers and Roman Sharp.
Oh, see, now that's good stuff. Now I've got to check that out.
But I want to find.
I want to know where Mitchell. I think Mitchell is more, which is interesting. I'm different channels for different reasons. I'm going back to that jobber summit that we talked about that's coming up.
Yep.
I think one thing that really, and I'm just looking through channels I subscribe to.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that stands out to me is there is a massive gap in B2B companies that aren't selling courses or coaching that are making good content.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much room for that. It's like not just a commercial, not just a sales message, but using their voice to make good content. And I think that, we've said this for a while, but I think this huge advantage that B2B has is B2C's blazing the trail for them.
Yeah.
All they have to do is like say, hey, this worked over here. Let's figure out how to reverse engineer that for us.
Yeah. They're laying the groundwork. Let me try to find
and by the way, Roger Wakefield, because he's making.
I mean, seriously, definitely getting it right.
And I'm looking for Mitchell's Instagram. So I follow some people on LinkedIn, I follow some people on YouTube, and I follow some people LinkedIn in Instagram. A little different content. And I'm just starting TikTok, so you're gonna have to get
it's wild, and your algorithm will change weekly. Like the people it shows you change all the time.
So Mitchell is now Mitgo, MITHGO _outdoor, and Mitchko, but his name is Mitchell. But anyways,
Mitch is short for
so
Mitchell.
he does landscaping jobs, and he's pretty big in that world, and he's local here, and so he's big on Instagram. He might have a YouTube channel, but that's not what I follow him at.
Yeah,
I'll tell you another one to follow is Jenny, JENNIE, and Davis. It's a husband and wife, so they're actually weatherologists is not the term, but they fly. They're scientists. They fly in airplanes into hurricanes and take like meteorological
storm chasers.
Kind of, but they work for the government. Like they work for it's not anyway. They do that as their main gig, but then they started making cutting boards as their side gig. So they documented them selling them in their garage, and her going to real estate agents saying these would be a great closing gift, because people will keep them on their counters. They won't just throw them away. And then it showed them now they're in a commercial space, or not now, like a year and a half ago, they got into a commercial space. And so they're making it more of a full-time gig, they brought on a few team members to help with social stuff and this and that. So it's showing them grow, but you could go back to episode 1 and it's the two of them, and they've got their phone like up on a tripod. It's like, hey guys, today we're going to be doing this, this, and this. And here's some secret sauce. They also showed their failures, right? They're like, I watched one of him recently. He's like, I screwed up so bad. He's like, I didn't check the curve of what it's taken off, and it took off too much. And now I didn't get an extra 7 boards out of this 100 that I ran. So I cost myself X dollars, and here's where it went wrong.
Oh, yeah, some basic stuff.
And it backs up to the day. He's like, well, that's how he ended it. In the beginning, he was like, hey, I really screwed up, and if you could find it and comment before I get to it, you'll be entered for a prize or whatever. So people were like, what did he do? What did he do? Was it this? No, it wasn't that. But then in the end, he's like, I didn't set the curve right. I took off too much. But they show the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, hey, here's the struggles. Like, here's the stress of packaging these things in our living room, right? Between storms and all this stuff. So
you like follow through. All right. So I got one more for you. Aaron Witt. AARON making some cool, you'll like dirt moving content. Some cool stuff. Okay.
Well, and I think that there's some of the things we're mentioning is that I want to hit on is, like when I think of LinkedIn, I think of like a Dave Gerhardt and people that are cementing themselves as thought leaders in their space.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that sometimes it's easy to overlook in making content is being the thought leader. It's your unique perspective that you're sharing. There's really lots of things that you can share.
Sure.
But, I think that is such a opportunity for people to distance themselves from their competition when you're a thought leader. Somebody that I just think completely knocks out of the park, and everybody thinks he's the coolest, baddest dude in the world, but it's engineered. What he's doing is Jocko.
Oh yeah.
He took this excellence from his military career. And so when he, I'm sure you've been through his book.
Yeah.
And think about what's in that book, right? Like, I get it. Like it's real, it's gritty, it's all those things, but it's also a very well engineered piece of content. He is taking these extremely interesting stories and lessons from the battlefield, and he's mixing them with a case study of how he impacted a business. And would you not hire them for leadership training if you could afford it? I would. I mean, if I had a company that could afford to bring their team in for leadership training, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Well, absolutely.
He never, ever, ever tells you to hire him. Never.
Right.
He's giving you content for
free.
Yeah, he's way too cool for that. But how much would you love to have him and his team come to your business?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
But the point is at the end of the day, there's a lot to learn from what he's doing. No, I am not a SEAL Team 6 leader. I'm not that cool. But there's something unique about my perspective and things that I've learned, right?
Here's an interesting point on this, right? Jocko, as far as I know, doesn't sell courses. He doesn't have any sort of program. But you and I both know that he does. That they will come and do consultation, right? Like they'll come work with your team.
Yeah.
But that's kind of interesting because I tell you what I'm kind of tired of is everyone has a course for everything.
Yeah.
Right. Whether or not they've got experience in it or not. Or this has come up with our team. They're like when we go to social media marketing world, they're like, I've got this course and you can build a course just like it, and I get this much money a month and this and that. Like, yeah, but that's not what the winners do. You know what I mean? Like Jocko is a case in point, right? It's like he doesn't have a course. He doesn't do. He's like, listen, I'll bring in a team and we'll do a 6-figure consultation with you right now. I don't have a $9.99 a month course.
Yeah,
not my thing.
Well, because $9.99 is not really going to get you the impact, and so when you water it down so that you can give it to the masses, read the book. That's what his $9.99 course is.
Right.
Read the book. Right.
Yeah, that's something that this whole course thing. I don't know. Like I understand what it is and what it can do, but the reason in my answer to this is I don't know that I could give overwhelming value on a monthly basis above and beyond what a reasonable cost would be, right? Like I don't, and I've been through courses like that. Like I'll see a course $19.99, like all right, $20, give it a shot, see what's in it, right? And then you get into it, you're like, that wasn't even worth $20. Like that's throw it, but they got that $20, right? So it's like, okay, well, good on them. I guess they were good at marketing up front, but they just weren't good on delivering the value. So that's what I struggle with is like, if I were to ever do it, it would have to have such overwhelming value that I don't know, like in my heart of hearts, like if one person had that disappointed, like, oh, that wasn't worth it, I would shut it down in a second, just refund everybody's money. Like, nope, we're not. I don't like that feeling. I don't want anybody else to have that feeling.
No.
Well,
courses are weird.
That's your character and how you do business, and I think that shines through. You know, it's such a mixed bag. I can think of off the top of my head 2 courses that I have used that dramatically made their intended impact.
Yep.
When I took the Part 107 for my drone license, I bought a recommended course. I don't know who recommended it, somebody in the filming world, because I know there's a lot out there. It was very effective. It worked. I studied it. I got like a 90, 3 or 5 on the test.
Perfect.
You know, fantastic. It helped me learn exactly what I needed to know to do that. And I thought it was probably $100, $200, $300.
It was a one-time payment.
Yeah, they had me pay one time for, and it was worth it. It was absolutely, it was intended purpose. And, you know, then when we first got into making video a few years ago, I took another course on how to do it. And I think it's probably the best one out there. And it was, I bought it when he did his half price thing for like $500. But, you know, the claim is like, look, we want to replace film school. We want to make film school affordable.
Yeah.
And it served me. I learned how to make a workflow in editing. I learned all the things all the basics that would be very, very hard to pick up watching YouTube. On what makes a good video shot, like how to frame, how to focus, why you use this, why you don't do that, why you use different lenses, why, you know, how to do it for this type of work versus that type of work. And it was very comprehensive and very good. But I think that what's happened is it's just become so saturated.
Yeah.
That like as a consumer, I don't know what course I would buy unless I had immense trust for the person. It was the only way to interact with them.
So I think that's a very good point. So I took a social media marketing course from a big name in the industry, and I thought it was fantastic. And it was an upfront fee and then a monthly fee to be part of their private community, you know, like a private Facebook group and stuff like that. And I paid it for a long time because, and I'll tell you what, and the community wasn't active, like that part of it was a bust, but the course cost so much less than the value that I felt I got. I was like, I'm going to stay in this for like 6 months or something until like I feel like I've given the appropriate value.
Yeah.
That I could see. I could see something like that. But to your point, like there's so much static in that now of like people have to wade through to find the right course and this and that. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to sift the good from the bad.
It is. So I'll tell you a story on the other side of that paradigm because I have one that hurt way more. I don't know if I want to mention this. So I went to an unnamed business conference that is synonymous with high pressure sales.
I know where he was going with this. Now I do.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay.
We're not plugging that person.
And
I wouldn't. Yeah.
And went to the conference. I mean, I've watched the stuff for years and I wanted to go to one. And I mean, it's quite a dog pony show. And somebody got up and they pitched a program on how to learn how to deliver better talks to sell from stage. I won't say what their name was either, but I think that they are at the very front end of people that are giving any type of online education a bad name. Fantastic pitch. I mean, I was in $2,000 for this thing. And it was like basically like a guide. It wasn't a course, but it was like a guided group activity where they weren't really helping you at all. You got on once a week, you listened to the video, you did the step.
But they have a course section.
Yeah, and there's a course that goes along with it. But then there's like weekly live stuff that's broadcasted to the 1,000 or 2,000 people that bought it. And, you know, at the end of 6 weeks, you're basically supposed to have crafted your signature talk. And I like speaking and I wanted to learn more about this. Now, there was some nuggets in it, and I wouldn't say that there was no value in it. I think there was some frameworks in it. It definitely didn't meet up to what it cost.
Yeah.
But at the end, so this like the big thing where it's like, the one you got to get on, the last one. It's the most important lesson. They spent 3 hours dragging you through this thing to pitch you a $20,000 program.
That was the...
And I felt so dirty at the end of it. Like, what did I just waste? You know, come to their thing, and then they'll really help you when you come to the event to write your signature talk.
Of course they will.
So this makes me think. Okay, so all this talk, because we went down a couple of. I'm going to bring it back.
Okay, please do, because we were off.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring it back in this. I think this is important because what we're saying is, there's all these, like, this world of content creation and videography and all this stuff. And I'm a business owner. So, you know, I'm a service business owner. Let's just say I'm a plumber. Okay. We'll go with plumbing because that one's easy. And I'm selling plumbing services. And I'm like, I hear you. I hear this. I want to start making content. This world scares the crap out of me. And you just said there's like courses and how do you wade through all of this? And I think this is the next thing. That's like, how do we who've already been on the other side of like knowing how to create content and what you got to do to, you know, like we don't make money on a YouTube channel, but Joe does. Yeah. You know, there's different facets of what we do. Like, how do we help the business owners, even ones we know some guys with like bigger companies that are over 20 million, and I think they would probably call you up and say, "Hey, Joe, how would I go about doing this?" I think we need to make some series about that, not just the Gary V, like the basic stuff, like for business owners, how are you going to go about doing this? And it's probably going to be, how do you find the right experts? Yeah. How do you find the people that have the knowledge versus going on YouTube and how do I edit a video? Because that's not worth the time for the CEO. I'm hoping Joe's not doing that. On that. He's looking to do, okay, how do I hire the right person? What is the right thing? And I think that's high impact because there's just too much noise. How would you weed through the right guy and I'm going to go spend $5,000 on this blah, blah, blah. And it's not actually going to be good for my budget. Like instead, how do I know how to, and I think we even had a similar conversation with Caleb about something that he was doing. How does he know to find the right, to apply that right money? I'm not going to divulge that, but I think these are interesting conversations from the point of view of business owners that are making content or do know it's important, but they want to know how to spend their money on the right resources and how to do it good. So sorry, I'm bringing all that around back.
Yeah, I think that would be a super direction maybe for us to go next time we talk. Is let's step it out, like kind of walk through, especially through your lenses, because I think that you're not when I say you're not a YouTuber, as in like you're not just somebody that makes videos on YouTube to generate. You're a tradesman who has brought the world of content in YouTube into your world, and you're seeing it through your lens. You've done it successfully. You're integrated into your business. There's these things, and I think we should step through that. I mean, we're way too far into this episode.
I know.
Right now.
I need to wrap up here in just a minute because we're starting to close everything down.
Yeah. So let's step through that next time that we talk, and let's kind of practically go through that, because I know people want to know. And like you said, you're like, where the heck do I get started with a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I know, and I think that's a good direction too, because that is the number one reason. So I talked to contractors all over. Well, I came to your guys' event. We talked about you need to be creating video content, and I think people are understanding we should. Okay, like I think we're past the you need to. Okay, how do I do it? Like where do I start with content? So that's kind of what I'm starting to talk about now is, okay, so where do you start? What are your first 5 videos? What kind of equipment do you need? Where do you grow from there? Like, where do you post it? How do you post it? Like that sort of stuff. So that's kind of where my head's at lately is I think we're past the trying to convince people they need to. I think I think people understand that. Now we need to get into, how do you do it? Who do you hire? To your point, who do you hire and how do you hire them? Where do you find them? That sort of thing.
Well, we should even do it at contractor level. You've got your 1 to million, in volume.
$1. $1 to
Yeah.
$1 million. Okay.
one guy,
Okay.
a owner operator up to $1 million in revenue. So small team.
Yeah.
And then, once you're past that million, because now you shouldn't probably be editing your videos, right? Where at some point you stop editing your videos, and to that next phase. And then I think there's like, okay, at what point do you hire some people to do editing or hire them to do videography? And then what the next phase onto the next. So I think we could even kind of break it into brackets.
Yeah, I think that sounds awesome.
Man,
it's been a blast, Joe. I will try to keep this to an hour in the future.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I didn't realize where time went until so I've got like a security camera set up like right here.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are we cleaning up? Like, I guess we're done for the day. And then I looked at my phone like, oh,
we are done for the
day. That's why we're cleaning up.
Yeah. It's a good talk then, man.
I enjoyed it as
always. Thank you. Thank you for the time. We'll look forward to next time.
Very good. Thanks,
bye.